So another orphan has landed at my doorstep. This was dropped off Sunday night. He is going to surprise his kids with it because his boys are at about that age and they are eager to get a motorcycle and learn how to ride. It is a 2016 model, sold brand new in 2018. I've got the title from the original sale that shows it had 2 miles on it at the time of sale. It has 1,133 miles on it now, but it has been sitting basically its entire life. They never even put the new plate on it when it was originally titled. I have the original plate, but it still has the dealer paper on the back. So I'm going to air up the tires, I'm going to wash it, and I'm going to give it a good thorough going through. It needs a new battery, that's dead. I'm going to change the fluids. Just give it a good check over and make sure it's going to be safe for the kids. So before I putting this back in the garage and start working on it, I'm just going to point out a couple of things that I saw real quick. One, for some reason, the chain guide is broken and hanging down. This is not expensive, and luckily on this model you don't need to remove the swing arm to fix it or anything. Just have to take that off in the chain guard. But it's weird that it's broken on something that's just been sitting in a garage, so I'm not sure what happened there. I also noticed that there were some scratches on the rearview mirror. I don't know where those came from. Maybe actually on the transport on the way here, possibly. And that the fork seals may be blown because there was grease on them. It felt soft on the front end. So I'm going to kind of monitor that situation, see what's going on. Other than that, oh, there was a scuff here too. But other than that, it looks like it's in really good shape. So I'm going to be changing the coolant and the oil and cleaning and lubing the chain, get the oil filter, and brake fluid. Yeah, brake fluid. This looks really dark. The front master doesn't look as dark, but the back one looks really dark. But I'm gonna flush both of those things. And I gotta get the old, the gas is basically empty, but I think there's still a little bit of old gas in there. So I'm hoping that the fuel injectors are clean, or injector, there's just one cylinder. And hopefully the high pressure fuel pump is fine. Sometimes sitting for long times can harm those things, but we'll see where we're at. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take off some of the body work. And I see that there's a fastener there, and there's one there, and there's one there. I was looking a bit earlier and I see there's a clip there. Looks like this clip will have to come out. Not 100% sure if that one needs to come out too. There's one on the inside on the back. And then I see one about here. So I'm just gonna start taking it apart and see if I can figure it out. Well, I'm having a heck of a time finding out what's still holding this thing on. I might have to resort to a little bit of interweb research. think I see it. Thought I saw it. And eventually I found it. It was where I was seeing it, but there was kind of have to reach in and from this side pull this down. All right, that is the body panel off. I think the other side will go smoother now that I know what I'm doing. So that took me a little longer to figure out than I would have liked. And the main thing that was hanging me up was this clip right here. Once I realized I got to kind of pull it down to get that part to let go, it was relatively easy. But I did also make a mistake when I thought I needed a Phillips. That was actually attaching this black plastic to the back. You do not need a Phillips head. There are just 5mm Allen heads, and then the 2 plastic clips. So there's one up here that has no shoulder. There's one right here that has a medium shoulder. There's one down here that has a little bit deeper shoulder. This one is on the inside, has a deeper shoulder. And then the last one is attached here right now, but that one has a bit of a shoulder too. And I just put them back into position where they were going to go, so it's easier to keep track of them and know where they are when I need them. Body work on the other side was basically a mirror, same 5 bolts. This one only had 1 plastic clip because the one at the bottom is for both. So now I'm going to drop off the belly pan, and this looks like it's just a couple more of these fasteners and then it should drop straight off. The reason I'm taking the belly pan off is because the oil filter is behind this cover. I don't think you need to remove it to do just an oil change. Whatever gas is in that tank smells really, really bad. So I wasn't going to pull the tank off originally, but I'm not sure I can figure out how to drain it if I don't. And this will give me an opportunity to take a peek at the airbox too. So, looks like this front plastic should just pop off. And then I've got a couple of bolts there and a couple of bolts here. This bracket is just for keeping that front plastic on, so there's 2 10mm that hold that on. There's a 12 up here and 2 more 10s in the back. Okay, so I've got the gas tank off. There is a quick disconnect for the fuel line right here. There is a vent hose that has a clamp. There is this hose, and then there is this electrical connector and clip. So those are the 4 things you need to disconnect to take the gas tank off. On the gas tank, there is some emission stuff, so that fat hose without a clip goes there, the skinny one with a clip goes there, the wiring clips in there, and then the electrical connection is there. I was worried to check the airbox that I was going to have to take all this off, but Honda actually has a nice little inspection window here with just 2 screws that tips up out of the way, and then you can pull the air filter out. It just clips in with those little tabs right there. So this looks like it's in great condition, as it should be after only 1,100 miles, but I'm glad I still got to check. So I've got the old gas drained from the gas tank. I'm going to get some fresh gas for it, hook it back up, and throw a jump pack on it and see if it starts. Okay, so I've got some fresh gas. I'm going to add a little bit of snake oil to it, and hopefully the injectors and the fuel pump are fine and it fires right up. I don't hear a fuel pump cycling. Should hear a whir of the fuel pump. Poop. All right, I've just concluded a clean and test of my fuel injector for the little CBR. Basically, I hooked up 2 leads so that I could connect it to the battery. I've got a valve stem off of a, from a tire, and I've drilled a hole in the cap so that I could use this with my carb cleaner and just hit the button to spray the carb cleaner at the same time as I hooked up the battery, and I got a good spray pattern out of it. So we're going to call that good. So with the fuel pump out of the gas tank, the next thing we're going to do is confirm that it's not working. I've got the 12-volt battery again, so I'm going to give it, just make contact with the positive side, and yeah, that's got nothing. So with the dead fuel pump, I've done a little bit of research online, and I know you can replace just the fuel pump module. So I'm going to try and pop this apart to get to that. Don't need multiple tools, I just need to be a little bit more aggressive with my prying. So once you get them far enough, they will let go of their clips. Last one's being a little bit stubborn. There it goes. All right, now this should just pull out. What else have I got? There it comes. And just spit some more old fuel. Oh, you know what? I've got to unplug this damn. All right, to unhook the wires, what I need to do is just wiggle each one of these out individually, and they go black, red, and the top 2 wind around and go to the fuel sending unit. And I'm sorry, the top 2 go to the fuel sending unit, the other ones go to the fuel pump. Okay, with the electrical connectors undone, then I can pull that off the base. Watch that O-ring. So we've got another O-ring right there. I'll leave that one on there. There. Looks like there's some varnishy gas down there. So the silver part is what we're trying to get out. And I believe I've got to pop this bottom off as well. And I believe I've seen that that can be brittle, so we have to be careful with it. Just set that there. All right, we're gonna try and get those things cleaned up too, because they're kind of gross. So I think I need to get these electrical connectors off there. So I'm just gonna try and gently them up. All right, so I got that side off. Now this should, I believe, just slide out. All right, there's our old fuel pump. While waiting for the new fuel filter to get here, or fuel pump, excuse me, it's going to be worth cleaning out that varnish, all that yellow. This was about that yellow too. I've cleaned this part up already, and so now I'm going to get the crud out of there. You can see all the varnish that came off the other part. The new fuel pump arrived, and it appears to be a good match. It's a little bit skinnier, maybe. No, it's still a Keehan. But it's weird that it looks a little bit skinnier almost, but maybe that's just the corrosion on this throwing me off. All right, just gotta figure out, remember how to put it all back together. Just can't quite get that last one to seat. It's very close, but it just doesn't quite want to go in. Trying to figure out what I can press on or do. There it goes. Hey, I did it. Okay, right, with the fuel pump in the housing, I can get it back into the tank. You may have noticed that I didn't want anything falling into the gas tank, so I just cut a piece so that I could protect it while it was waiting. I have to remember. Okay, I see what I was missing, and there are two knockouts here, and they line up with that and that. So, I had it close. Just have to go in there again. That goes over there, just like that. There we go. Now it's sitting down. Okay, that's the gas tank back together. So, getting the tank back on, I will remind you, is basically there's an electrical connector that's going to hook in down here, and it has a clip that goes there. I'll get that in a minute. There is this hose, which is going to connect there. There is the fuel line, which is going to go there, and then there's that hose, which is going to go over the top. So I'm going to see if I can get this a little closer. Okay, with the connections on the bottom, I can bolt it back in, and that's just this 12 millimeter up at the front, and the two 10s that are back here. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is the battery. I should actually do this over there. If you've never done a battery like this, they're pretty straightforward. The last couple of batteries I've gotten, I've actually shipped with the acid in, and they show up fully charged. So it's been a minute since I've done one of these, but they're very straightforward. There is a strip of tape here across the top. Peel that off. We'll open our electrolyte solution. You pop these black caps off. And these are sealed right now, so there's no problem. And these have a point to cut them, sort of like a straw when you're drinking a juice box. So you just get this all set up and tip it up and pop it down. And then you give it a few minutes, that'll bubble down, fill it up. So it's been about 15 or 20 minutes. Want to make sure you got any last drips out of there. That will go into the garbage. And then we're just going to take this cap that was on the top. I'm going to put it down over there and just press it down flat. And now it is sealed. So what we can do, you'd be surprised how fast these things charge up. They always tell you got to charge them. But if you come in here, look at that, 12.6 volts already. As you can see, I've already pulled the old battery off. Did that while I was waiting for the fluid to drip down, but didn't want to move the camera. And this has a clip. All right, that's the battery end. Let's listen for the whine of that fuel pump. Yes, that's a good sign. All right, I'm not going to fire it up just yet, just because I want to change the coolant. Then I'll fire it up, let it warm up, and then I can change the oil. All right, I hope I can do this one a little more neatly than I did on my V-Strom, but I believe this should be my coolant drain hose, or drain port, so I've got to unscrew that before I let me take the cap off. It's got a little safety screw in it. And this leads me to believe that our overflow is behind here. So let me pop that off real quick. Sure enough, little overflow tank down there. Try and use a syringe and suck that out of there. All right, this is just a little 8mm. I'm not going to worry too much about trying to flush all the old stuff out. This stuff really probably wasn't too bad, considering the low mileage on the bike. But as it's been sitting for a few years, just want to make sure it's starting off with fresh. One of these days I should probably get something like a proper fluid extractor, but for now, I'm just going to use this syringe. All right, with the old coolant drained, I'm going to start filling up the new coolant. Now, this should take a little more than a quart, but so I've got the reservoir up to the fill line, and this is up to the top, but it hasn't taken a quart yet. So I'm pretty sure there's some more room in there. There's got to be an air bubble or something. So I'm going to tip it back and forth a couple of times, and then I'm probably gonna, if it doesn't drop down enough, I've got to start it anyway. So I'm gonna probably have to open the garage door here, move it around. We're close. see how the battery is charging as well. It's 15.6 volts. That's a good spot to be. All right, well, it doesn't want to take any more coolant for right now, so I am going to go ahead and change the oil. Then we'll go for a test drive and check the coolant again. Okay, we're going to get the oil changed. The first thing I'm going to do is open the fill cap so that it can drain down. And then this one has just a 12mm drain plug, which is smaller than I'm used to seeing, but it's easier to access from the other side. So I'm going to climb over here. While that's draining, we are going to take off this cover so we can get to our oil filter. There's a spring on the bottom of this cap. There. That holds the filter on. Oops. You want to make sure you don't drop it like I just did. Or if you do, let you know where you dropped it. Okay, then we got our drain plug back in. Now we just have to add the oil. Should be about 1.5 quarts. That looks about right. If anything, it might be just a shade high, but I want to run it for a little bit and see if that settles. So I'm gonna wash my hands. Well, actually, let me throw the seat on first. I can wash my hands, grab my helmet, take it first swing around the block. Got just a bit ahead of myself because I remembered this chain guide was hanging down and I don't want that to cause any problems, so I'm going to change that before I do any test ride. That's that. It clips in there and there, there, there. And there's a button there that's missing. This is our new chain guide with the buttons. Both clips intact. Put the bottom one on there first. I'm just going to do this little spray with some lubricant to help it. And I've got the button set. I did just remember that I read somewhere that it recommended taking out the chain guard too to make it easier. But I got it on there, so no harm, no foul. Now, I'm going to do one more thing before I go for the test drive. I'm going to put some lubricant on the chain as well. So the way I'm going to try and do the chain on this, since I don't have a center stand, is I put a jack stand under the foot peg on this side. I'm going to lift it onto that and then slip this jack stand under the foot peg on this side. And that should hold the rear wheel off the ground and allow me to spin it with the chain. Just like that. All right, we're gonna do fire up the little CBR 300 and go for the first test drive. I am not a fan of where they have the reservoir for the brake fluid here, because you cannot get to the screws with it in position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bolt out. I'm going to see if I can bring it to the front, maybe get a spacer or something, so that while I bleed it, I can have access to it. See how it goes. All right, this is what I came up with. Got a long bolt, threaded it in. I'll still have to be careful with it because it's not exactly solid. The hose doesn't want to let me get it like straight. I could try and remove the foot peg, but that means removing the muffler mount, and I don't care to do that right now. So I think this is going to be okay as long as I'm careful. So I have to be a little careful not to burn myself while I'm doing this because the exhaust is still hot. Okay, I finished up with the rear brake and tucked that reservoir away. I think this reservoir is deceptive because that still almost looks amber, but it's a very yellow plastic, and it was coming out pretty clear by the end. That's the stuff that's more in the middle. I don't know how well that's showing up in the camera, but I'm happy with it. Bleeding the front brake should go significantly easier. I've got more access to the bleed nipple, and I didn't have to move anything to get this off. You know, it's funny because the brake fluid through the window at the front looked better before I opened it, looked worse now, whereas the rear looked worse until I opened it, and then it didn't look as bad. So they're probably about the same. So I'll get that amber stuff out of there. Okay, the last thing I need to do are the 3 plastic buttons. The button style clips. So we'll get those in.
together. Hey, what do you think?
Looks good.
This one new?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2016, but it's been parked for a long time. William, come here.
We can go.
Before you ride it very far, you're going to have to take the safety training class.
So, boys, this bike is a gift from Mark Rosnick after he talked to you at Man Camp.
Oh, wait.
You want to throw a leg over it?
Yeah. Yo, what?
Hot pipes.
That's sick.
I'm going to need a ride home.
Mr. Gates has been working on it to get it ready.
Thank you. Thank you. That's so cool.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so cool.
So go ahead and throw the key in real quick.
Ezra, come on down.
Man, that's sick.
Turn it to on. Pull in the clutch and hold the clutch in and hit that button right there. Now you can let go here too. Put my hat off there and give it a blip.
What?
Flip.
So what Jason said about safety training, William right now, with someone who has a license, is the only person who can get to safety training in order to have your motorcycle added on to your license. But when Ezra does, he could do the same thing, the extra training, and grow. It won't be too many years until you'll be able to also.
As always, thanks for watching.